a reality and liberate Kenyans and their families from the threat of harrowing poverty that stalks them every time a family member falls seriously ill. In our plan, and through your support, we will restructure our primary health system so that we put more resources into promotive, preventive, and early diagnosis. A key driver of this realization is the National Health Insurance Fund, whose restructuring is not only necessary for efficiency, but also enables it become a fit-for-purpose social insurance scheme that caters for all, including those suffering from chronic diseases. Digital technology has become a critical player in economic growth. We will capitalize on existing technology and innovation in the public and private sector to distribute the Hustler Fund as promised in our plan. I call upon financial institutions and our young people in innovation to participate in the digital economy by redesigning their products to serve the goal of empowering millions armed with grand ideas and our only way the funds to finance their dreams to reality. Honorable speakers, honorable members, I have news, and it is not very good news. Our financial situation is not very good. For Kenya to grow to an upper income country, we need to invest at least 25% of our GDP. Our current national savings is below 10% of our GDP, which translates to an investment savings deficit of 15% of our GDP. Over the last decade, we have sought to close this gap with public borrowing. This year alone, we budgeted to borrow 900 billion to finance both development and recurrent expenditure. You're all aware that our total collection is 2.1 trillion, which is only enough to pay debt and to pay salaries. Everything else, we have to borrow. The government, members, should never borrow to finance recurrent expenditure. It is not right, it is not prudent, it is not sustainable, it is simply wrong. We must bring ourselves and our country to sanity. Over the next 3 years, we must reverse this and go back to the situation where government contributes to the national saving efforts by keeping recurrent expenditure below revenue. To this end, I have instructed Treasury to work with ministries to find at least 300 billion shillings in this year's budget so that we can remove it, because the market cannot sustain the kind of borrowing we are doing as government. Next year, we will bring it further down so that by the third year, we have a recurrent budget surplus. This we must do, members, because it is the right thing for us to do. On the revenue side, I am committed and determined to ensure that our tax system is responsive to the needs of the economy. It must be equitable, efficient, and customer-friendly. The economic principle of equitable taxation requires that the tax burden reflects ability to pay, This is best achieved by a hierarchy that taxes wealth, then consumption, then incomes, and lastly trade, in that order of preference, so that those who are wealthy and have the capacity to pay should pay more, and those at the bottom of the pyramid should pay what is proportional. This is best achieved by our tax regime that is different from our current tax system, which falls way far short of this. We are overtaxing trade and undertaxing wealth. We will be proposing tax measures that begin to move us in the right direction. We will also work, authority, on a culture change to make it a people-friendly, customer-centric organization. That we should rename it the Kenya Revenue Service in line with the businesses, and also bring down interest rates so that the private sector can also contribute to reducing the savings investment deficit. In many countries, social security, and particularly pension systems, contributes significantly to the national savings. Our current social security infrastructure, both public, that is the NSSF, and private, only cater for people in formal employment, thereby excluding the vast majority of working Kenyans. There is no retired Kenyan today who is living on their NSSF retirement benefits. The meager current contribution of Kenya shillings 200 a month adds up to 72,000 over 30 years. There is no rate of return on earth that can grow this into an adequate pension. I mean, we just have to be honest with ourselves. You cannot pretend that you are saving by saving 200 shillings. And it happens across board. Not surprising, many Kenyans scramble to provide for themselves by investing in the 50 by 100 plots of land, thereby exacerbating the problem of land fragmentation, price inflation, as well as land fraud. We intend to overhaul our social security infrastructure to make it inclusive, to encourage those excluded to save. I will be proposing a national savings drive to encourage those in the informal sector to set up their retirement savings plan. For every 2 shillings saved in the scheme, up to a maximum of 6,000 a year, the government will contribute a shilling for every 2 shillings saved by the private sector. Meaning that every Kenyan who will save 6,000 a year, the government of Kenya will give them 3,000 shillings. As part of the response to the ongoing drought, we have embarked on distribution of relief supplies to 3.5 million Kenyans who are affected by drought in 23 arid and semi-arid counties. The ultimate solution to the drought cycle in our country is mitigation of climate change and its adverse effects. We must act urgently to keep global heating levels below 1.5 degrees centigrade, help those in need, promote the use of renewable energy, and thus end addiction to fossil fuels. Honorable members, I know the contribution to the National Government Constituency Development Fund has made in making life better for our citizens. Having served in Parliament for 15 years, before and after the establishment of the National Government CDF, I know the difference it makes is monumental. I believe there is a way CDF can be aligned to the tenets of the Constitution. In this regard, I also extend to add that both houses should also be adequately resourced for oversight duties. With regard to the Senate and its constitutional mandate, I believe the two houses should work together to set up the Senate Oversight Fund. This will be used to provide oversight of the millions of resources that are sent to counties. Honorable members, the people of Kenya rightly expect much of us. We have our work cut out. This is our chance to achieve real change by working together to make Kenya a land of equal opportunity for all, where every Kenyan is proud to call home. Let us all play our part in the service of our employers, the people of Kenya. I will be making other statements going into the future. I will make my statement today short. May the good Lord bless you, and God bless the great people of Kenya. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the President, the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, honorable members, we have come to the conclusion of the business of the day, and it is now time to adjourn. The Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, 4th of October 2022 at 2:30 p.m. in the Senate Chamber, Parliament Buildings.
Honorable members, the National Assembly will equally stand adjourned until Tuesday, 4th October 2022 at 2:30 p.m. And before we adjourn, my apologies to the members of the judiciary, those who carried my speech, left out the acknowledgement of our members of the judiciary present in the House. Apart from the Chief Justice, we also have the Deputy Chief Justice, Honorable Philemon Mwilu. We have Justice Daniel Musinga, President of the Supreme Court, of the Court of Appeal. We have Lady Justice Hannah Okwengu, Justice of Appeal. We have Honorable Justice Eric Ogola, Principal Judge of the High Court. We have Honorable Lady Justice Maureen Onyango, Principal Judge of the Employment and Labor Courts of Kenya. And we have the Honorable Anne Amadi, Chief Registrar of the Judiciary. Your Excellency, honorable members, may I take this opportunity to invite all honorable members and our guests to our reception at the Parliament courtyard. May I also request all honorable members and our guests that you remain standing in silence in your places until the procession of His Excellency the President, the speakers, the Supreme Court judges, and the spiritual leaders leave the house. If the Honorable Chebukati is present in the house, we also all the honorable members, on your behalf, I have the distinct honor to acknowledge his presence. Thank you.
Agenda kwa floor of the house. Alafu system wacha hiyo. Okay, wacha kuna comment.
That marks the end of President William Ruto's inaugural address to Parliament this afternoon, an address that has lasted for about an hour, what many would say short and sweet. And he's just basically rallied members of parliament from both houses to enable him focus and deliver on his legislative agenda, and that is owing to the fulfillment of the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. When he was in his opening remarks, the president said he is dedicated. He will be leading a dedicated administration, and he promised to lead United Kenya, and that his government will be impartial. And this is regardless of the political diversity that was experienced in the 9th of August election. And noting that Parliament is key in delivering his mandate, the President has called for bipartisan support from the two houses of Parliament, and this is for enabling the pushing for his agenda in both houses of parliament, that after the two bills are passed by the two houses of parliament, it will be very easy for him to assent to the bills, and basically the process of delivering what it is that any particular former Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Justin Muturi, who in the amendments of the standing orders had proposed that cabinet secretaries be allowed to come into the chambers. As it stands, or as it were back then in the 12th Parliament, this Parliament was not allowing strangers in its sittings, and that particular amendment in the standing orders, and as has been emphasized by the President, will be seeking to see how Parliament takes that up. And this is in regards to cabinet secretaries being able to promptly answer questions in regards to how their ministries are performing. He has also defended what he has been campaigning, as well as fulfilling of late, the issues of subsidizing the issues of production. And he says that he'll be killing subsidies, so to speak, and his government will be empowering matters production to ensure that the economies are sort of lifted up. And the issues of affordable housing is also another issue that the president has highlighted, as well as matters health, as he seeks to deliver on his legislative agenda. That is the latest in brief from the president's address today in his inaugural speech. I'll now hand you over for the other programming from the other side of the studio.